Everybody always says, I want to change the world. And if they don't want to change it, I think they might admit that they wish it was a little bit different place. See, we all want our kids to grow up and be happy, healthy, live a better life than what we're living now. But yet, so many of our families are disconnected, overwhelmed, really in turmoil. And it made me think the other day about a Mother Teresa quote. And the quote says, if you want to change the world, then go home and love your family. I love the quote. I thought of it. And the more I thought of it, it really started to disrupt my thinking. I thought, at first, this is sentimental. This makes you feel good. But the more you ruminate on that, it starts to change your perspective of it. And so I think that there is power in this quote, and Abbie and I are going to talk about it today. Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hukin. So, Ab, what do you think? Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.
I don't think I'd ever heard it before whenever you brought it up, and I was like, wow. Yeah. I think that that's how, you raise good people. You raise people who are loving, is
Right.
doing just that. And it can be broken down in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, people say all the time, hurt people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, what do loved people do?
Right.
I would have to think that they love people.
Mm-hmm.
So Mother Teresa was very, inspirational in her works and everything that she did. But I think it really, for me, it epitomizes what we want to do for and with this, if you will, platform, I guess, of just like loving our families in a way that puts Christ in the center of our home, but then also invites other people to do that. Because I think so much of the turmoil and the brokenness in the world, we talk about this all the time, and I want to talk about it more today, is it really comes from the fallout of the strong family unit.
Mm-hmm.
Satan himself attacked Eve in the garden, and immediately God's ideal for his creation was broken. And I think our families are a version of God's ideal in this world and in this life. And if we could have individual homes all across America, all across the world, loving each other really, really well, we just might have the ability and the power to change the world for the next generation.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me think back to, there was a quote that you said the other day. I don't remember it exactly, but it was about every kid deserves.
Oh, yeah.
What's that quote?
Oh, I wish I could tell you the person's name. No, that's
Okay.
all right. It's great. But the quote is, every child deserves at least one adult that is wildly crazy about them.
Yeah. And I feel like those two quotes can kind of come together, because I feel as though it all comes back down to love.
Sure.
Just like you said, hurt people hurt people. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And there's a lot of different people that I've encountered in life that maybe have caused hurt. And it's almost to the T, you can trace it back to their childhood. Maybe they didn't have a strong family, or they were hurt.
Right.
And I think that it is just so important that children feel loved, and they feel, from a parent or a parental figure. If they don't have direct parents, they feel that love.
Sure.
And I think that that is a great foundation, and I would assume is what Mother Teresa meant by that.
Sure.
Is because when love is the foundation of everything,
right?
You just.
Yeah. It'd be pretty cool if we could interview her and get some follow-up thoughts on that and stuff of that.
Have her in.
Yeah, of that nature. But I think there's this, we see it, how many great and amazing organizations and charitable organizations exist in the world. And I think of it oftentimes in terms of think of an emergency room. Some of y'all, if you've ever gone to an emergency room for, I don't know, like a cut or a scrape, or you're fighting the flu or a cold, a lot of times those are the ones that wind up sitting in the waiting room for a really long time, right? But if you're in the waiting room and you say, hey, I can't feel things in my hand is kind of tingling or hurts. My chest is really sore, short of breath, like all those things. Suddenly, you're getting a lot of attention out of the
The
nursing
popular.
staff or the triage staff, right?
Yeah.
You become the most popular person in the room. And it's because there is a huge issue taking place when we see those symptoms, right? And those symptoms being, heart attack like symptoms, possible, cardiovascular disease. That's a huge issue. And we need to solve for that in our world and in our healthcare. And I think of, homelessness and child sex trafficking and huge issues that our world is facing today. And there's amazing organizations out there that support that. And we want this organization to support those types of initiatives that combat that darkness in the world. But if you look at it and you're like, wait a second, go back to my emergency room. How do we prevent, right? Like the person in that situation isn't looking for prevention. They're looking for a cure, right? How do we prevent heart disease or heart attacks from happening? Well, we got to go way back to when we start. We got to make good choices and do all right, eat healthy, move our bodies, exercise, all this stuff. Well, how do we prevent homelessness? How do we prevent the unrest in the Middle East? How do we prevent all of these things? I actually think it comes down to loved people, loving people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I do. And I think that, there's a self-worth aspect that ties into all of those different scenarios. And it brings us to, foster care and kids needing loving homes. And when I think about all of that, I'm like, how do I build a home big enough to just love on all of them? Yes.
I mean, that's been our prayer. It's like, Lord, just break my heart for what breaks yours. And it's like, it comes top of mind, right? There's so many children in the world that don't have the privilege of going to bed in a loving home at night.
Right.
Be it in America or somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just, it's hurtful. It's heartbreaking, Yeah. And I want to stand in that gap in some ways,
Right. And I do. I think that a lot of it does begin at home and with loving and good routines and family dinners. And, it doesn't have to be picture perfect all of the time. It just has to be like a trustworthy relationship and bond, and just being like, you are loved and it's okay to, in life, because I feel as though that sometimes down the road in life, they get into, well, nobody loves me. Everybody's out to get me. And I think that that's just all roots back to what they grew up with.
Sure. Well, how do you speak to this? Because I struggle with this. You probably do better at it than I, but it's like, it doesn't feel big enough. Like my family's small. We just have 3 kiddos. How does me going home and loving my 3 kids actually change the world? Mm-hmm. Like, again, I don't know.
It's a ripple effect. And it's, think of who all your kids interact with during the week at their age now, but then think about when they're older and how many people they interact with. And if they're loving and they're kind, what that does, that trickle effect does. But then also, if I'm being real honest, we're in a season of life right now where it feels like you can't catch a break. Mm-hmm. And it feels, it can feel as though people are wronging you without blinking an eye.
Sure.
And if our kids grow up and they aren't that, right? Because they have a foundation laid, then that is a different ripple effect versus if they grew up and ripped people off, stopped communicating with people, didn't deliver what they said they were going to deliver, whatever it may be.
Sure.
Look at that ripple effect. Both of them have an effect in...
Sure.
It's A or B, and then that changes.
Yeah. So how easy is it at times in life when anybody else, if you're going through a season like what it feels like we're going through in this season, is it easier to release that, let it go, love the people anyway, you know what I'm saying? Or is it easier, more in tune with our physiology to be like on defense and ready to lash back out? And you know what I mean? Just kind of like you were saying, a ripple effect of that. But it's like, what if our homes could stand in that gap and say, you know what? Like we're called first and foremost to love. Like Jesus said, like they'll know you by how you love one another. And sometimes I think it's really easy to love a person, even in our own homes, that loves you back. Mm-hmm. But how is it to love every single person on the face of the earth as a true image bearer of God? God created them, and if God created them, then Jesus died on the cross for them. Sometimes people are not easy to love, but when we always operate out of a place of love because it's what was taught to us inside of our home, that now you're starting to make it make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because that feels big enough to change the world.
Yeah. And it's also, there's a bit, I don't know if you want to call it pride, that you have to swallow to love someone and be kind to somebody who has wronged you.
Right.
Or, wronged you, ripped you off, whatever you want to say, whatever the situation may be.
Sure.
It's challenging
Right.
to be kind, but you don't also win anything by being unkind. You're like, well, maybe you need a little bit of extra love, so I guess
Right.
I'll give it to you, even though it doesn't feel like you deserve it right now.
I'll say all the time, I don't like you, but I do love you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I might not like you. And I think there is, again, now we're getting into dialogue and interactions of adult to adult.
Did you know that we spend about a third of our lives in bed? That's over 8 hours a day that our body should be resting, healing, and restoring. But did you ever stop to think about what we're breathing in during that time? Most mattresses today are made with synthetic foams, flame retardants, and chemicals that release toxins into the air, especially while we sleep. That's why we made the switch to My Green Mattress, made with only clean organic materials. There's no chemical smell, no off-gassing, just a pure supportive mattress that helps your body truly rest and recover the way it was designed to. As a family, that peace of mind is worth everything. If you want to create a healthier home from the inside out, go check out the link in our description. You'll see exactly why we love our green mattress and why we'll never go back. As parents, we love finding natural ways for our family to feel their best, and that is why we chose Llama. They make genuine Baltic amber jewelry for both kids and adults, known for its soothing and grounding properties. For little ones, it's a beautiful natural option to help with teething and inflammation, and for adults, it can help ease tension and bring a sense of calm throughout the day. Each piece is handcrafted from authentic Baltic amber. It's never plastic, never imitation, just simple, natural comfort that fits your lifestyle. Check out the link in our description to shop Llama, natural comfort for the whole family.
Communication oftentimes in business or in just relationship, whatever it looks like, it's like you're not being very likable right now, but because I am loved by the creator of the universe, I can choose to love you for that common ground, because I know that you were created in the same likeness. You know what I'm saying? We're obviously, every human is unique, but the fact that we were both made by the same God, and that God sent his son to die for you on the cross, like, I can love you. And sometimes loving someone looks like setting boundaries and keeping, space and distance. I don't want people to hear what we're talking about here and just think like, oh, you've got to get walked all over your whole life and pushed around just because you're, I love it. We read this story with the kiddos out of their illustrated Bible the other night of like Jesus going in and flipping tables in the temple. It's like, again, we have to allow Jesus to deal with their hearts. It's not our job to, produce the righteousness of God. I mean, in fact, there's scripture that says that, right? It's like human anger does not produce the righteousness of God. And so it's like, I say this all the time, and this is something I've been working on a lot lately, is to operate out of love and not anger. Like sometimes it's easy. It's easy for me to flip that switch and go to anger. We were joking one time, our pastor was giving a sermon and he said something like, you can't tell somebody to be happy. Like, happy's not, just turn on, like emotions. You can't do that. I just turned to you. I was like, anger. I can do that. I can turn that on right now. You mad? I'll be madder. Let's go. And so I think that's an important caveat to remember, is that it's like our default. Oh, this is the other thought. What pours out of you when you get bumped, right? Like the old coffee cup analogy or water cup analogy, or again, you love them, the fruit of the spirit. Like if life is bumping you, pushing you around, and you're inside of a proverbial cup, and so something's spilling out of you, is it love or is it anger? My world, it's easy to put anger in my cup, but I've been working really hard lately on putting love inside of it. And if we could do that for our families and our kids, teach them, that's the default, right?
And I think, again, that also comes back to something that's easy to establish in childhood, is making sure that you are modeling the fruits of the Spirit, and then they will adopt that identity and habits and response to situations in life. And so even now, it is a great opportunity to be like, I'm going to show up this way, even though, I was wronged in that, but I'm still going to show up this way. And it's still just a really good example for kids to then see that and model that. And so I think a lot of times that can come back to childhood as well.
For sure. I think you had a good point on this the other day and talking about how exhausting it can be to model that in a world that is ultimately, I'll just say, in a world that's ran by the enemy. He's just running rampant in here, and so we're working very hard because it's not like our flesh, it's not like our bodies or our brains, even for that matter, default to go into peace, love, patience, kindness, all of these things, like, and how it can feel exhausting to turn that on when you're in the midst of like a trial or what can feel even like an oppressive,
Mm-hmm.
just an opposition from the enemy. How speak to that, I guess, like why do you think that it is so exhausting to turn that on sometimes?
Well, I think that it also, I think that, so say somebody does something to you and you have a choice to respond in anger or in love. The enemy wants you to respond in anger. And so when you kind of think about that, and he's like, you better get him back.
Get him.
You better tell him, speak your mind. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's the enemy wanting you to
Say
do
less.
that. Yeah. And so, but what is the result? If you speak in anger to them, what does it do to them? Make
Right.
them angrier, more resentful. Because they
Oh,
obviously
you want
have to
here?
be
I'm gonna go
that.
there, and and just now we're
Right.
one upping each other and
Yeah. And so then if you respond in love, well, like,
love.
right. Like they will feel that also. And maybe you're the first person to ever give them grace ever. And maybe that will rub off. Who knows what that could do? But anger is only going to provoke more bad.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so I think that it's important that we pay attention to that and just pay attention to who wants us to be angry. Do you think God's like, go get them?
Get 'em.
Right? No.
Yeah.
Like he is going to ask that you treat them with kindness and love and all of that. And he'll deal with them later. You know what I mean? Like that's between them and God,
Sure. Yeah, I think there is scripture that says something to that effect, right? Like vengeance is mine. Like I'll handle it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to worry about it. I think it's very important for us as parents, but just people within society, within this earthly realm, to just work tirelessly every day to operate out of a state of love and kindness. And obviously there's going to be days that you don't feel like doing that, but I think we have a very slippery slope of treating everyone throughout your day that way and then getting home and letting your family have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's hard.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, this quote, it just keeps coming back to me. It's like, go home and love your family. You want to change the world, go home and love your family. We can't be out in the business and in the marketplace or wherever and putting a smile on and being good and just pouring out. And we go home and our family gets some dilapidated, second
Crummy,
best, scraps version of you. And I speak to that from a very personal note because I can do that or have that tendency just as much as anybody. It's like, oh man, what a hard and long day and dealing with this and that person. And oh my goodness, and now I'm going home and I'm going to let my true colors shine. And here comes my family around the door. And it's like, now I'm mad, it's like, nope, that's definitely not what Mother Teresa was talking about. Your enterprise, your push, some of y'all have amazing charitable, companies, charity-based nonprofit organizations and things like that. And that's the thing. Even like I've even heard this out of different pastors and things. It's like church itself becomes the thing that is so burdensome that then the family is left with the leftovers.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. And, I think that it's okay to come home and maybe share like the one good, one bad from your day or something, get it off your chest. Cause I think that sometimes we go through and we have maybe a rough day and then we just bury it and bury it and bury it and we don't ever deal with it. But then also when you're coming home, making sure that you just like take a second to switch gears.
Yeah.
You're no longer in work mode. Okay, let me be in family mode and play mode and let me kind of wipe the slate clean so that I don't have this right up here to the threshold ready to spill over and just be agitated. But I think just getting that off of your chest and letting it be what it was and then closing that door and walking into your home and being able to be fully there.
Yeah, you almost need some kind of a practice for that. I know for some people it's just the commute home. I noticed I listen to a lot of things on my way to the office. But on the way home, oftentimes it's just silence, alone with my thoughts, trying to release and let things go. Sometimes I do need you to be my sounding board for X, Y, Z, something happened, anything like that. And I appreciate you for being that for me. But I think I always give the caveat and you're like, hey, you don't got to do that. It's good. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're that for each other.
Yes.
It's just like, hey, heads up. Here comes a splash of negativity. You ready?
And I think that's good. I don't know if there's any science behind this or anything that explains it, but I really do think that when you can vocalize stuff and get it off your chest, even if it is negative, I know you see a lot of things that are like, oh my gosh, don't speak negatively and all of that. But I think that in the moment, for a split moment, like, let me just get this out and off my chest. And it does. It feels like it takes a weight
Yeah.
off of it because you're like,
Oh,
okay, out of my mind, off of there.
I can take a
Now
deep
you know
breath.
how I was maybe feeling. And, it's just kind of like we're on the same page.
How oftentimes do you do something like that and realize that what you were thinking when you said it out loud, how ridiculous it was?
Yeah.
And so it could just be a negative thought pattern that you're having, or something like, I share this example with people all the time. One day I was just really in my feels, having a bad day. And I was like, in here, in my mind, had something ruminating around about, I guess, if you will, my identity. And I wrote it down. And y'all, it was not some therapeutic, get it off your mind. I've heard it said, move it from your head, through your heart, out your hand, like I've heard all these practices, but I was just like, I was just being petty, and I wanted to go home and complain to Abbie about this thought that I was having about myself. And I wrote it down, and not only writing it, but then seeing it written and having to form a full thought to get that out. I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. If I go home and tell her that, she's going to tell me to knock it off. Like, that's ridiculous. And so sometimes there is just this aspect of get it out, but we want to be really sure that, that is the minority of how we're spending our time with our family. Don't let your pursuit, whatever it is, God might have laid something on your heart to run after headlong. Mm-hmm. I think we're supposed to do that with our family and make sure that our family is first over the pursuit that we're, running after. We say all the time, faith, health, family, then wealth. That wealth, it's just, it rhymes with health, y'all. It could be wealth, material wealth. That's an important, construct. And Jesus talks a lot about money, and we need to have a good relationship with it, in the sense that I think the best thing ever, if you could teach your family and your kids, is not to work for money, but get money to work for you. Like, if you mm-hmm. just change that connotation, because the scripture talks about all the time, is like, money's lordship over us. Yeah. Is it? Are you working for it? Is that the whole drive? Is that the whole mindset that you have all day long? But I'll digress. Really, when we say wealth, we really mean that thing that steals all the rest of our time, right? Be it might not be wealth in the sense of, hey, I go to, work this job or anything like that. It might be some pursuit that the Lord has put on our heart. Well, he would never have given us that for it to take a precedence over our relationship with him. Mm-hmm. We don't want an idol or a false god or anything like that in the place of where he should be. He doesn't want us to neglect our own health to pursue it. Definitely the family he gave you shouldn't take a back burner to the thing you're running after. But rightfully so, it should be in its right place. And fourth on the list is where I think it falls.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think it's awesome that we can all have a place to start, because I think a lot of people want to change the world or do good for the world in the future. And if we really just stop and know you want to change the world, like, go home and love your family, I think that that's just a really good settling place to start and make sure that our focus is. From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do his will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hukin.